Hey, my wonderful and beautiful people, a pleasant evening to you. Now, beautiful people, I struggled with something over the years, and I could not understand why quite a number of people in the secular and in the sacred had a belief about the suffering of mankind. And the thought was that God made us to suffer. And part of that suffering, they figured, engendered being very ill, being sick, being poor, being impoverished or indigent, suffering lack. And I said to myself, it just never made any sense because I started to think and on meditate on the scriptures that talks about with Paul, for example. I think it was Paul in the New Testament, maybe another, disciple or apostle or man of God or so, who said, I wish for you to prosper as well as your soul to prosper. Above all, I wish for you to prosper as well as your soul to prosper. And if you check the historicity or the etymology of what the word prosperity or prosper means, it means to do well or to have financial gains, social gains, to do well socio-economically, to do very well socially, to do very well financially. When you do well in those areas, it's like a song. So it touches on the mental capacity. So you start to do well mentally, you start to do well psychologically. And when the mental and the psyche are well, it affects the physical because it's all interlocked, intertwined. They're almost, and I say the word almost, one and the same, you know? And I thought about that, and I thought about all the old men and women of God who were wealthy. Phoebe, who helped Paul on his missions, was a wealthy woman. When we think of Ruth, who married Boaz, who was a wealthy man. When we think of Esther, who became a queen, with basically married to the king, yes, and wealthy. When we think of Abraham, the Bible described him as a rich man. Some, interpretations say a wealthy man. Job was extremely wealthy. David had wealth, not to mention his son Solomon, and the list goes on. Paul understood some level of wealth because he was a tent maker. Forgive me, the Taliban outfit, that dress looking something, the white Jews with the chic wear or something like that, you know, turban or whatever you want to call it, you know. And I said, oh my God, the suffering that Jesus spoke about is as it relates to crucifying the flesh. Crucifying the flesh. So, for example, if you know that you're in a malignant way, jealous of other people and envious in malicious ways, you are a kleptomania or a perpetual liar, or you may be somebody who is hot tempered, you're a drunkard, you practice a lot of sexually immoral things. I mean, things of the flesh, in that sense, as it relates to your character. When you have to crucify that, when God says, I know you want to do something to that individual. I want you to enact revenge. Although I said revenge is mine, thus saith the Lord. I want you to pull yourself back because this is what pleases me. I want you to employ the fruits of the Spirit, especially self-control. You have to go through a series of long suffering to deal with that. So, beautiful people, it is not about the suffering. It was not about sickness, diseases, poverty, lack. No, it is about the flesh dying daily. When you have to, even to your own pain. When I say pain, I'm talking about it burns you. Let's just be real. Can you imagine you have a bully, let's just say in your church or in your workplace or some social event? This, every time you see them, they find ways of psychological abusing you. A lot of that happens in the workplaces, psychological abuse. So what they do is try to make you feel incompetent, to feel stupid, to feel like you're an idiot. They don't speak to you, they gaslight you or blackball you, and they get others to love them and to hate you. And in fact, they seem to look as if they're doing well. So the more evil they are, the more people seem to gravitate towards them. The more good you are, the more people seem to pull away from you. And they, for example, they create mayhem and mischief in your life frequently or invariably. It takes Herculean, Samson, I have to call it strength, to not enact revenge towards this person. And what God says, no matter if what they do, employ self-control, employ it permanently, so that it causes you to not respond in similar manner. In fact, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pray for them and bless them. Don't speak curses over their lives. Speak blessings over their life. You have to say, Lord, bless mine enemies. May your face shine upon them and be gracious unto them, and grant him your peace, God. That is what it is talking to do. You know that you're jealous and envious in malicious and malignant ways. You confess to God to say, God, these areas I'm struggling with. I feel so bad to know that I'm jealous and envious of my friend. I'm jealous and envious of this person, that you name them. Quite a number of people are going through that. And it may feel really debilitating and humiliating to admit that you are jealous. Most people would never do something like that because you don't want to seem evil and wicked and sinister. How dare you? You may struggle with being a thief, a liar, perpetual liar. You may struggle with sexual immorality. You sleep with Tom, Dick, Harry, Jill, Jane, you name them. You're all over the place. And God says, I understand. You were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. I know. But I'm going to ask you to employ this self-control pill. Employ it. Practice it. Even when you feel to go left, you know that it's the right way is to go right. Or even if you feel to go right, the right way is to go left. So the suffering is suffering in having to crucify the flesh daily. People, if we are honest with ourselves, that is one of the most difficult things to do. If what I'm saying is wrong, we would not have so many reprisal killings. We would not have had so many people imprisoned if what I'm saying is wrong. They could not, bearing the suffering of Christ. Christ suffered that way for us. When they spat on him, when they told him all manner of evil, when them pee cluck behind him, plotted to kill him, and he never did them anything. He never did them anything. He never wished bad on them. Never pronounced evil. Well, mind you, he called the fox, the wolf. The wolf said, you whitewashed sepulchres. No, beautiful people, I want you to get out of your mind that the suffering has to do with sicknesses, diseases, lack, poverty. Poverty is not of God. That is why you have to be careful when you hear people talking about the pastors, the elders, the deacons, the church people. It is a ploy of the enemy to keep the churches poor, pauperized, despondent, broke, sick, and weak, and with no effect. So if they hear a pastor coming out and asking for money, automatically people think that the pastor is a thief. I can't believe we have gotten there. Enemy has gotten us there, yet a company will be making millions and billions, to borrow the words of Donald Trump. Billions, meaning, people say always don't give specific figures. Billions and millions. Nobody said they continue to support them. So wait, the pastors and the church people and all of that, they're not humans too. They don't want to enjoy the spoils of the land too. They don't want to enjoy. Do they not want to enjoy the wealth? Are you aware that the world is so wealthy that every human being can be wealthy and wealth still remains on the earth? Every single barring none can be wealthy. There are almost 8 billion people, and the world remains wealthy nevertheless. You see the vast and enormous God we serve? Stop the foolery, stop the nonsense. The suffering has to do with crucifying, crushing the flesh daily. That is not easy. Especially when you have to turn a cheek if somebody cursing you out, or you have to forgive somebody for stealing your husband, your wife, or doing all kinds of mayhem, taking out somebody's life who means that much to you. So many things I can name. But the suffering has nothing to do with sickness, diseases, and poverty. Those are not of God. those are not of God. Anyway, guys, you know, to the real TikTok and YouTube, subscribe and give me one of those lions, please.